Hello everyone and welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. We are on the final trial of the game. We are on Turnabout Succession and we are 7 years in the past to find out what happened with Phoenix Wright's last trial. We are cross-examining Valant Gramarye in the case of his mentor's murder, the night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room and my mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss, I gave it to the clown. Oh, so he's saying he shot the clown instead. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime? Indeed. I would think this fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Gramarye, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zach Gramarye, then the killer was you, Valant. Yeah, so why would they, if they equally could have done it, why would they jump to Zach Gramarye first? And no disappearing act will get you out of that. The night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss, I gave it to the clown. I'm gonna press that. There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you? No doubt my partner Zach had said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. I better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valant, let me ask about something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, oh, the location of the pistol, the number of pistols. Ooh, that's a tough one. Maybe the number of pistols? How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zach and Valant quick draw shoot 'em, correct? One for each of you. We were well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. What did Zach tell me back in the lobby? That he said he took it with him. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene after all. Okay. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam! Alakazim! Alakaboom. Is the number of pistols really so important? I'm going to say not important. I mean, it is important. The number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do but obey? Maybe I should change what what question I asked? Let me press this. So you took the only pistol there and fired it? That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene? Good show. I see you too are a magician of sorts. And you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glare at the witness. So how about heating up this trial a bit? These slow ballads bore me. I've got a hunch, but maybe that's all it is. Maybe I should ask about something else. Okay, I'm gonna ask about the location of the pistol? Where exactly was the pistol when you entered the room? Atop a small bedside table it was, as if to say, here I am, take me into your hand, pull my trigger, shoot him. The victim clearly wanted to be shot. But why? Perhaps he wanted to go out with a bang? Okay. Yet we will never hear the truth from his lips, so all we can do is guess. Is the location of the pistol all that important? I want to hear what he says about the bullet. Actually, let me ask about something else. Yeah, what can I do but obey? Yes. I want to ask about the bullet. Press here. Yeah, because you can also ask about the bullet. Okay. Let's go through all the dialogue all over again. Yes. I want to hear about the bullet in the pistol. In order to shoot a pistol, you need a bullet. Where was the bullet? I entered the room and took the pistol in my hand. The bullet was already loaded, ready to fire at any time. A magician is always prepared, you see? Prepared for... One never knows when a miracle will be called for. A magician always has 7 doves in his pocket and a white rabbit up each sleeve. Clearly we're dealing with professionals here. Is this bullet that was loaded in the pistol really so important? All of these seem pretty solid. I'm gonna say not important. Okay. Let me look at this again. Only one pistol was in the hospital room that night. With it, I shot the clown. What about this other one? Fires when a bullet, barrel marks match bullet found in victim. I guess I'm just confused because they said the barrel marks match, but they didn't actually perform their own test.
Objection!
Let's see what happens if I present this. According to the defendant, Valant Gramarye, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on the table. 2? One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant had some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Valant has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Valant. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Oh. That's right, okay. Mr. Valant, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. I was a little thrown off by what that was the one from the clown. Order, order, order. Well, this is all rather sudden. What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proved the type of gun. Oh, okay, see, that's what I was thinking. That's kind of what he was insinuating. That proved the type of gun that fired them. But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? You're not a youth anymore. That was just this morning, exactly. I am still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Valant Gramarye. Yes, Your Honor? You were presented to this court as a decisive witness. You've proven to be more divisive than decisive.
Objection!
Ooh. Gavin's mad. You'll see in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. Why are facts in quotes? The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valant entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. As his next testimony will prove, air right, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Okay, what is this, a cheerleading competition? Bring it on. Very well, the witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Yeah, because if they're identical guns, wouldn't they have identical rifling marks? That's why I was getting confused earlier. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. It was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. Yeah, what was the, not that. What did the autopsy say? 11 to 11:30, okay. You're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi is easy to explain in this situation, Air Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song. Press the play button and it will play for 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. I'm wondering if they had them on like a heart rate monitor, and that's how they could know the exact time of death. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds. What a ripoff. That is kind of short for a song. Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well. The prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times, and we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Uh-oh. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on, right. Okay, let's, I'm gonna press on where he talks about the time. 11:20. Okay, yes. It's quite clear about the time of death at 11:10. That's what I want to press on. I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time? We do usually only get an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. Oh, it's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Well, it's out of his arm, though. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim, Magnifique Gramarye's schedule. Every night at 11, Magnifique took an IV drip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now, look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Okay, yes, as I see, the needle is out of his arm. Ah, the needle's been removed. Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. That's not true, actually. You could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions for our purposes as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. Okay. And so it was, when I, Valant, entered that room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Did that seem important? I'm gonna say yes. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Something I could present here? Here, let me press and see what he says. Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then his left arm, did I spy, arose, drooping and wilted. Can you stop using, like, metaphors? Just tell me, plain and simple. It's Thorn, the discarded IV needle. Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you, that IV had not been there, why, you might have been a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Is it yellow? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self, for pink. For it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valant won their first Magician's Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, I was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy? A bust, and what a day it was. Oh, this is one trip down memory lane no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed, and that IV too. I say, I think 'twas hued especially for me, Valant. That does seem to be the case indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? Valant sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? I don't know. Oh, I can look at the court record. I mean, the IV looks green. I don't see him wearing green. I'm gonna say there's a contradiction? It certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck, but not this time. Mr. Valant, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here. Very well, let's hear the defense's claim. Where's your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valant has told us? I'm gonna say this one? Because the color is different? The crime scene tells all, Your Honor. The photo of the crime scene? All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Air Wright, just where is this contradiction in the photo? My pleasure, and I assure you it's quite simple. but I can't promise anything in black and white. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony? I'm gonna say the bag? I mean, it's green, right? And he's not wearing green, he's wearing yellow. Valant Gramarye, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes. Kinda takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. What's this? Confusion. Doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valant. Look at that IV bag. What is this? What foul magic? What foul magic? It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow, and I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. No! He busts out with a bunch of magical stuff. Order, order, order. What does this mean? This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Your witness's mistake. The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valant Gramarye, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can mean only one thing. Objection! And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Ha 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 ha. Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear a sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow. Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? Oh, blue? Oh, okay, you mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like I want to say light blue. Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. How would he know that, though? I see. Your explanation does have the ring of truth to it. Unless he saw the IV in his arm. As I thought, there's no substitute for experience, for experienced Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave, for you, that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So, let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Alakazam! Alakazum? I don't know what word that is. Alakazong. Order, order, order. Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valant Gramarye, has testified that the IV liquid is yellow because, he knew the IV liquid's color, he'd seen it before. I'm torn between he'd seen it before and he knew the IV liquid's color. I'm gonna say he knew the IV liquid's color. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before, but not inside the blue bag we see in this photo. He saw the liquid by itself in a clear, colorless bag. I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what this all means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? Oh, wait, what? He works at a hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor. He works at the hospital? I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leave the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our Teen Bopper fans, yeah? Objection! The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Well, wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid, yes. I'm right, right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body, at which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in. What, is he saying he put medicine back in the bag? Let me get this straight, Air Wright. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag? Oh. Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. Oh, okay. Now wait, I said wait. How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task? Objection! I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup. Objection! An IV bag's a little different though. I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag, exactly, quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a Oh, it's the needle. He has a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV bag to throw off the time of the death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth? Valant Gramarye, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop is this, because it was wiped down. The victim's syringe? It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick, and easy enough for an amateur to use. What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it. Exactly. And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valant Gramarye? As you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will. Alakazam! I like the doves flying out. I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that, while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in the bag, the time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work. I see there are no objections. Court is adjourned. Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise, underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you, in a way you never ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid, but there's no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This, I admit. After all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much? You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Proof, Herr Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. What's this? This is the victim Magnifique Gramarye's diary. Oh, this is what got forged, right? Diary. After going into the hospital, Magnifique began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of course, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Tonight's IV, there's a page ripped out. Like, that doesn't look obvious to them. Tonight's IV is in, maybe the last. I leave the rest to them. The first should soon come. This journal may end here or may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. And I can't read it. And what is left to mine is, I can't. This does appear to have been written just before his death. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnifie's diary added to the court record. Read the last part with particular care. Okay, let me go back and just make sure I can see everything. How do I open this? Can I open? Okay, yeah, that depends on his hand. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen. This is the last page. The diary ends here. Huh? What's this? It looks like a page was ripped out. That's what I was saying. Well now, isn't that interesting? Is there anything else I can look at? There's this mark in the back. Didn't they say something about a mark? Or was the whole diary forged? I think the whole diary was forged. Oh, I could have waited. This journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his. He refers to our defendant, Valant Gramarye. That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here or it may go on. It may go on. Magnifie Gramarye intended to write again. Oh, he's going to keep writing if Zach didn't shoot him. That is, if Valant Gramarye didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. Because Magnifie's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Valant Gramarye. You can't clearly see there is a page ripped out. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Gavin, are you certain that Magnifie Gramarye wrote this? There's no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifie did intend to continue his diary. Yet, if his diary ended here, which plainly it did, and the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Valant Gramarye. What does this other page say? It seems fate's clock. Oh, okay, at least only 10 minutes remain. Okay, yeah, so this is the page that was ripped out. Well, how do you like me now, Air Wright? Still too green for your tastes, He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking, but put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for the case. If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. Show evidence. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary? It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary. I've just shown the court. I won't. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. All right, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is... Baboom. First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has clearly been ripped out. What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Alika, I don't believe it. Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifie Gramarye. That's the defense's position. Wait, let me see that. Does it fit perfectly? What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. Uh-oh. He's looking sweaty. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page of Magnifie's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Heir Attorney? But if this was 7 years ago, how did he get off? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Valant Gramarye left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valant Gramarye. No. No! The handwriting, too, matches that on the other pages. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. Order, order, order. What? But wait, that's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Heir Wright? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Air Judge. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin? Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness. Oh, come on. But Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses. I ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way. Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So it might as well be sooner. What's he got up his sleeve? Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. Like, in what courtroom do they just allow surprise witnesses? I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped out page was too obvious. Oh, he must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. It's Drew Measham. Or not Drew Measham, but like the holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. So if it's a forgery, it got planted on him. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say? I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Very well. You are the witness, I gather? Yes. Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Measham. I'm a painter. A painter? And you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Measham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah. I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh, yeah. I mean, I made it. You what? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Valant Gramarye. Illegal evidence? I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Measham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries? Well, so we are to understand that this page here is a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney. Objection! Hold it. I didn't prepare this evidence. Objection! The attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix Wright. Witness, he was set up. Or Mr. Measham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who was your client? That I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them. Objection! But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. Huh? To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine. What's the mark? Ooh, Phoenix is gonna get in trouble? Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to this court, my court. Oh, poor Phoenix. It was careless of me. That's all I can say. Oh, old boy. Here. So someone probably gave it to Trucy to give to him. What's this? I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important. Aw, poor Trucy was involved in the setup. It was all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright? Yes. Do you have an explanation for yourself? If I did, would the court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Fatal too, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Oh no. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one.
Objection!
Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime. But you cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. He was set up. Just say you were set up. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. Your Honor? Another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. So after all those years of Phoenix being in his courtroom, he's just going to assume he wasn't set up? Mr. Attorney? Yes. Could I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright, I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. And I shall remember you, Drew Measham. Even though it was his daughter, but he put his daughter into it. Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must... Ah, Your Honor? Yes, Mr. Zack? There's one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I am afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict? When your defendant does not exist. Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I'm talking... about this. Poof. Oh, he poofed. Mr. Enigmar. The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That's funny. That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigmar, aka Valant Gramarye, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again, not since that day. This is the Gramarye miracle. So he's probably alive somewhere? Even though they legally declared him dead, I think. No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Valant Gramarye vanished, along with him for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however, but not until 7 years later. We're going back to the future to be continued. All right, well, we will continue on this trial in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and if you enjoyed your time, leave a like and say hi down in the comments below, and consider subscribing if you want to catch more of this series. And I will see you guys in the next episode of Apologistus Ace Attorney.